It's time for Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. And now your host, Bryan Nugen, estate planning and elder law attorney.
Good morning, and welcome to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. I'm attorney Bryan Nugen, founder of Nugen Law, and your host for our program. The purpose of our show is to have weekly, in-depth conversations about matters relevant to folks as they walk down the path of successful aging. Our listeners will learn what it is to age with dignity and how best to protect their money. I've been practicing law for 3 decades. I'm licensed to practice in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida, and actively represent clients in all 4 states. My practice, the attorneys and our interdisciplinary team of professionals who practice with me concentrate on working with clients in estate planning and elder law and areas related to them, such as protecting money from nursing home stays, securing benefits from programs including Medicaid and the VA, geriatric care coordination, estate and trust administration, guardianships, and planning for those with special needs. Nugen Law sees clients in many stages of life, but commonly we have folks reaching out when they or a loved one are showing signs of needing help. Those signs may include a chronic ailment or progressive decline before, during, or after a hospitalization, an instance of incapacity, caregiver burnout, stress on family members due to some or all of those items I just mentioned. As a reminder, if you hear something in today's broadcast which resonates with you, an area in which we might be able to help, please call Nugen Law at 260-925-3738. Speak with one of our intake specialists and schedule a meeting for either our Fort Wayne or our Auburn offices. You are also encouraged to see us online at www.nugenlaw, that's NUGENLAW.com. You may also email us at help, H-E-L-P, at nugenlaw.com, and we would enjoy speaking with you. To our listeners, Nugen Law will be presenting a free seminar on August 15th between 1 and 5 p.m. here in Fort Wayne with a much deeper dive into how you can be sure to preserve your dignity and protect your money with topics like asset preservation, care management as you age, estate planning, elder law. I would encourage you to give us a call at 260-925-3738 to reserve your spot. Those fill up quickly. Today we have a familiar guest with us, Brian Grubb, or BG as we call him, the Elder Care Coordinator with Nugen Law. BG, welcome.
Good morning, Brian.
Appreciate your being here.
Yeah,
please explain to our audience the role of an Elder Care Coordinator at Nugen Law. You heard me say just a moment ago about a geriatric care coordination. So what's the position that you hold, and how do clients of Nugen Law receive your services?
The Elder Care Coordinator does a variety of different things, helping people through processes such as Medicaid waiver, things, finding places to live when they're ready to transition from home or from one facility to another, helping connect people with resources. So, for example, this morning I contacted a family member who's somebody who's caregiving right now at home with somebody, helping them find a physician that will come to their home, a nurse practitioner, and also helping them get a medical alert. So just connecting people with all sorts of resources, those kind of things are some of the things that I do.
The fact that our clients at Nugen Law have access to the Elder Care Coordinator, I think is something that really sets us apart and our clients sincerely appreciate having. You just mentioned something like the medical alert. You know who to reach out for that. You know how payment arrangements can be made for that.
Yeah.
You talked about facilities, so nursing homes, assisted living facilities, independent living facilities. I don't think there's one in the 4 or 5 county area that you haven't been into.
Yeah.
And have the ability to make recommendations for them that are appropriate for the clients.
Yeah, appropriate, and also just that I have a connection with the people there and help folks get the best kind of interactions and quality of care, not just when they go there, but before, during, and after. Mm-hmm. So This morning I was working with a family, stopped at a family's house individuals in a nursing facility. The individual just made it home. It's husband and wife team. And, I offered, he was asking me some questions about a wheelchair. Is she eligible for a wheelchair? So I'm connecting him, making sure that I make that happen. And sometimes people just get, either frustrated by maybe they don't feel like they know how to do something or they don't know how to make that connection. And sometimes I just want to make it easier for them, make their life, get what they need, and also just make it easier for them. So.
And so that when the clients of Nugen Law are working with you as their elder care coordinator, I like to point out that it's an annual flat fee. It's value-based, so that if they speak with you once a day, twice a day, once a week, once a month, it's the same cost. They might as well take advantage. You're not tracking your time. Of course, every contact we have with a client, we make a note of, but you're not tracking your time, and their bill isn't increasing if they see you more frequently than this week than they had last week.
Right, yeah. In fact, I had a question yesterday from a family that said, well, we'd heard about the renewal thing. What's that mean? What's the value to us? And I explained to them what I felt was the value, but I said, please, talk to the office, and they should be able to give you further clarification of what that would be like. But one of the main things that they said, again, was like, well, will we get to see you?
It's because they love you. Yeah.
Well, I'm honored that I can serve people. So.
Yeah. Well, you said renewal program. So that's right. What happens is, after our agreements with our clients are typically 12 months in length. So at the conclusion of those 12 months, our clients, for a significantly reduced price, have the ability to continue into our client care program. So for another year, they could have all of the same services they were receiving in year one, frankly, for about 75% less than they paid in the initial year. You've met them. You kind of have that baseline understanding of them. And so most of our clients do participate in that client care, that renewal program, and receive our services year over year. So thanks for speaking with that client about that. That's appropriate.
I think they just start relying on you for things that they didn't realize in the past, what kind of needs they might have or how to get through things. So they become reliant upon us for those things.
And it isn't always, it's not what you know, it's what you don't know.
Yeah.
It always crushes me when I hear oh my gosh, I wish I would have known about this 2 years ago when we were caring for Mom. I had no idea the service was out there.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons we're on WOWO, is just talking to educate the populace about what we do with our elder care coordinator and Nugen Law more broadly. Yeah. BG, what are some of your most challenging cases, and how did you navigate those challenges?
Well, some of the most challenging cases are frequently either getting somebody to realize that maybe they are the next steps, the transitions, to get somebody to actually move from home to a facility. A lot of families feel a lot of responsibility and guilt, and sometimes they need somebody from the outside to say it's okay that I recognize how much you're struggling. They need some outsider to say it's okay to move forward.
Right. I do think it's true that people sometimes hear a message from someone outside of their immediate family or their immediate friend group differently than they would from those folks that are close to them. Yeah. You talked about transitioning from home to a facility, but that isn't necessarily the end goal whatsoever. If somebody can successfully be in their own home, then you want to get the resources in there to provide for them so they can remain in their own home.
Yeah, that's a big part of what I do, is helping them through different programs, the waiver, that type of thing. But also, no matter what, just keeping them there. And sometimes I point out to people, like, something as simple as a medical alert can keep you from going into a nursing facility. Right. We had an example where I was just with a family this morning where I recommended to them, this family, this was months ago, They got the equipment, weren't using it, and then
It happens all the time.
Yeah, but they started using it. And in this situation, the husband and wife were in the same household. He gets a phone call from the medical alert people.
Right.
He says, well, I think everything's okay. He goes and checks, and in the same house, he didn't even realize that she had fallen.
Sure.
So, but that one example of how that was helpful to them.
I just was meeting with a client this past week, having the same conversation. The medical alert button was at the house, sitting on the counter.
Yeah, of course.
And I had the heartfelt conversation with the client. Falls happen in the shower, and you're here by yourself, and it is not a sign of weakness to wear that.
Yeah.
And also to underscore, if you push the button, it doesn't mean that you're going to be removed from your home.
Right.
It means that help is on the way to correct the situation that you're in.
Right.
And so I do hear that people have a concern. If I use this button, I'm not going to be able to stay home anymore. And that's not the case.
Yeah. And a lot of times EMS does not even come out. They check with the individual first or the family to see if they're okay. And just stepping back a second here, when you were talking about moving, transition time, our goal is to help people be at the best place in their life. So, for example, recently, just this last week, we had an individual that we worked hard at moving them from a nursing facility back to an independent living home.
And BG, talk about your role, how you identified that that's what the client wanted, and then your role as an elder care coordinator with Nugen Law, how you made that transition happen from the nursing home back to the client's home.
Yeah, so it was a little tricky because I was concerned that the daughter, the family member, didn't want him to be more independent. So I had a conversation with the family member saying, here's why I think this can happen, and these are the things, the objectives I would see for him, and why this would be a better thing for him in his life. So having that conversation, that was a separate thing, multi-steps, but contacting this person was in a facility, so contacting the case manager with the situation, finding out what was the best way to go. We actually had to do a reassessment with the area agency on aging, and we went through actually a couple of steps with that. But making all that happen, so I had to organize all that, and then cool thing for him was this program called Money Follows the Person program. He was able to transition out of that. They also ended up, allotting him, I think it was about $2,500 to move from the facility to, So I visited him. He moved in there last Thursday. I saw him on Friday. Saw him again earlier this week to see how things were going. So that's part of what I do, too, is just follow up with people, no matter what the situation. So,
yeah, excellent. How do you develop and update personalized care plans for your clients at Nugen Law?
Well, what I do, the main thing is keeping in touch with them. For example, this morning when I was at the family's household, this person just transitioned from the nursing facility back home. So I will always kind of be checking in with them, seeing what they need. So I always ask them what they do. I do like a personal assessment with anybody. And some of it's informal. It's not always just like a written script of things, but the main thing is getting developing that relationship with the family so that they know that you're there to care for them. So I met with a new family earlier this week, and I was with them for about 2.5 hours, met with the daughters for 2 hours. They didn't think it was going to go well with Dad, and it actually went very well with Dad. And like you said earlier, he responded to me differently than they were worried that he was going to be, kind of his.
Ouchie.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they told me ahead of time, well, Dad came from another generation, so you might get some words. Yeah, I've been around for a long time, so.
Yeah. And how is it that you recognize that he was receiving what you were saying well and saw it as a good thing for him?
Well, I think just, again, being respectful when I first met him, making conversation or talking about things that he... about his life. I think when you really start right away, addressing what it takes to be important to somebody or have a relationship with somebody, it's really about being respectful and being genuine.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were talking with this gentleman, I immediately came in, shook his hand, he had some boulders outside of his house that I love. And so I was talking to him about something that he loved.
Sure.
So started that, and then found out about his work history. He had worked at Dana in Fort Wayne for a number of years, and so I started asking him, hey, I know some guys that worked at Dana, and he knew one of the guys.
Oh, great.
I contacted that guy today, and I asked his permission. I said, is it okay if I won't tell him what
Sure.
I'm doing with you, but I'm going to check in with him to see if he remembers you. And sure enough, this morning he told me, yeah, of course. He said he had another friend, But really just creating that relationship. And I told him during that conversation that I knew that everything that I was talking about, he understood.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew that I was recognizing his capabilities.
Right. I find that if the client is part of the process,
Yes.
it is, as opposed to shoehorning someone into they're part of it. You're meeting them where they are. You're having an honest, open discussion about their options, and that you are trying to give them the highest quality of life as they can enjoy, giving them the resources for them to enjoy. And if it's remaining in their home, or if it's transitioning to an assisted living facility, independent living facility, nursing home, if you're meeting them where they are, having that discussion with them open and honest, it works out really well.
Yeah.
And you aren't dismissive of them. You're talking directly to them, as opposed to a child, and you're talking to the child and not to them. The client is this senior person that you're helping.
Oh, yeah, for sure. In fact, in the case I was just talking to you about this week, I offered to the daughters, 2 daughters were there, and they're very frustrated. They're worn out.
Yeah.
And I said, do you guys want to be part of it? And they didn't really want to be part of it.
Probably afraid.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Afraid of Dad.
Yeah. But, talking to him, it was really just kind of direct, and I think people appreciate that directness too. Like I was talking to him about, really for this gentleman, many people, he would be in a facility, and I told him, I said, your family loves you, but they're also getting worn out. I mean, just being direct, and I think people do really appreciate that. And he understood that. He even identified a few things. So
Right. I don't think that parents, loved ones want to be a burden as well.
Yeah.
And that sometimes that's when they have somebody like you, BG, an elder care coordinator at Nugen Law, when they have that person to reach out, they don't feel that they're burdening their family members. And the key is we want the family members to have a relationship with their loved ones as a family member, not as a caregiver, not as it's the dynamic is just different. And to reiterate what we were saying earlier, I think once the family members know and the clients know that they can use your service without concern of having an additional charge every time they speak to you, and you're tracking your time in tenths of an hour, you don't do any of that. It's just a flat fee annually, and it works out really well for the clients. It's been very well received.
Yeah.
What metrics or indicators do you use to monitor the effectiveness of that care plan that you've created for the client?
Well, for me, the metrics, it's nothing really number-wise, but I would say like family input, feedback, those kind of things are what's most important to me. I got this morning I was talking to another client who is trying to get a mother who is in another part of the state of Indiana to move to another part of the state of Indiana.
Yeah.
And, I was able to get in touch with that facility. She hadn't been able to get in touch with them. She didn't understand really the whole question of what's Medicaid versus Medicaid waiver. I was helping her with that. And this morning, yesterday I was able to get in touch with a facility member there, and they expressed some concerns. And so I explained that to that person this morning, and I said, would you want me to be the one? Actually, the facility told me, they were trying to be honest with me. We're getting kind of tired of all these phone calls.
Sure.
And so she said it'd be better if just one person was contacting us.
Right.
So I offered that to that individual this morning. Would you like me to be that person? And she said, please and thank you. And it's fine with me. I'll do whatever I want to step in at whatever level I can be of help to people or families. And some people they don't like asking for help, but in this situation, this person did. And then afterwards, she sent me a nice text that just said, you're a blessing to me, and she just appreciated that.
Of course. Well, and I would say the family respected you and trusted you with being the point person for them. And that's really what to me, as the elder care coordinator, that's really what you're doing. You're lifting a burden from your clients and their family members and allowing them to enjoy the time with their loved ones.
Yeah. And I tell people that all the time. Like when I'm with another family last week where I just said to the mom recently within the last year moved in with the daughter. It's very stressful for this family. The daughter works from home, and she's worn out. Mm-hmm. And mom was we were talking directly with mom with them together, and mom was crying. She goes, "I don't want to be a burden," And I said, "Imagine how this could be if you went to an assisted living, where your kids see you. They're not working,
right?
They're not doing everything for you, but the facility is taking over some of those burdens. Yep. So doesn't mean, in fact, it'll be better. Most likely, it's going to be better.
Sure." To our listeners, Nugen Law will be presenting a free seminar on August 15th between 1 and 5 p.m. here in Fort Wayne with a deeper dive into how you can be sure to preserve your dignity and protect your money with topics like asset preservation, care management as you age, as we've been talking about with BG. BG will be one of the presenters, estate planning and elder law. Please give us a call at 260-925-3738 to reserve your spot. That's 260-925-3738 to reserve your spot. BG, how do you ensure effective communication and collaboration among the various healthcare providers involved in the client's care and the family and the clients? How do you manage all of that?
Well, what I do is, I'm constantly in contact. I pretty much contact every individual that I serve, which is about 50 people right now. I try to do that, and again, it depends on the family. Sometimes I'm in contact every day for a period of time. Sometimes it's weekly, but for sure, every couple of weeks to a month, I'm in contact with them. But it's based on need. So I use all sorts of communication. I'll text message if that's favored, call, email, whatever it is. But what I try to do is just I have a list of clients that I'm serving, and I go through that list every single week. Okay, what do we need to do? Did I forget to do something? Okay, I'm following up with whatever. So I ensure really mostly by a process that we have at our office where we're reviewing cases every week. So
excellent. And your clients are able to communicate with you via phone, via text, via email, one-on-one meetings.
Yep.
You have family members of clients that live locally, live further in the state, but a few hours away and outside of the state of Indiana. So that's not unique for you at all.
Yeah, no. And along with that, aside here, I always, whenever I can, I like to meet with people in person. And it may not be for everybody in person all the time. A lot of times it's phone conversations, but I try to have a regular face-to-face with family members and make sure that the family members know that, again, that they can, if they want me to be there, in person, I'll be there. If they prefer not, and we do have some people that just like, no, phone's fine with me.
Right.
So just respect whatever their wishes are.
Of course, meeting them where they are and making sure you're recognizing the most effective communication for them. Yeah. So, BG, how do you approach conversations about some tougher things, end-of-life decisions, directives with your clients, those types, discussing hospice and palliative care? How do you handle that?
Well, again, it starts with way before that conversation. It's about building trust and building relationships. So that's the basis of really everything that I do with the people that I serve. I want to build that relationship, get them to know that I'm valuable to them, that I have good information, and that they can trust me, that I'm giving them information that that I think, because they trust me, that it would be helpful to them. For example, I had a family recently who, this is a difficult conversation. I was with them early, kind of mid-stage dementia with a husband and father, and I talked to the wife and the daughter. I'm like, have you guys considered hospice? And a lot of people get scared right away by that word.
Right.
So, what I suggested to them was, I gave them a referral. I gave them a couple of referrals. They chose one. And I said, just talk to them. Find out what they think they can do for you. And then if you decide you want it, try it. If you don't like it, it's not forever.
No.
So I'm always telling people, like, this is not going to be permanent if you don't want it to be, know. So when those difficult discussions come along like that, that's one of the toughest ones, is talking to people because they think automatically it means death.
And it doesn't.
And it doesn't.
No, in fact, the hospice program is a wonderful program paid for through Medicare, and it has a lot of benefits. Additional care in the home can provide sources like hospital beds, bedside commodes, those types of things, other types of equipment that you need to be successful. And it, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have some type of an illness, a disease that could result in one's passing within 6 months, but it doesn't require that one pass within 6 months.
No, sometimes people are on hospice for years.
Sure. So a dementia diagnosis, for example, could result in being on hospice for an extended period of time. And my experience with my clients has been that the sooner they participate and utilize the program, the more they get out of it.
Oh, yeah. In fact, this case that I'm just referring to, this family, this man did pass unexpectedly, a little sooner than thought. But I just talked to the hospice agency the other day, and they told me that this lady, this family member, has already referred another one of their friends to it.
Isn't that
so
interesting?
it's a beautiful thing, because what a better referral than somebody that's actually used,
Yep.
So that's one thing. Another tough one is like I've had several conversations with family members where it was kind of like, your husband loves you, he can't take care of you anymore.
Right.
But if you want him to be around, you're going to have to, agree to go to a higher level of care.
Right.
That's been a really tough one for people.
Well, I think it's tough for both. It's tough for the client, and it's tough for the spouse or the child. You can physically see, though I'll say the well spouse. The well spouse, they're declining. They're tired, and their health may start to fail because they're so absorbed and engrossed with trying to take care of their loved one.
Right.
And when you get a little bit of extra care, a little bit of extra help, you can see them start rising again. They're rested. They're sleeping. The stress level is off. Just being able to leave on a Friday afternoon and have a coffee or visit with friends outside of the house, it is a huge impact.
Step out of the house, go to the grocery.
Yeah. Something simple.
Yeah. A recent example of that where this man, the first few times I met him, he didn't smile a single time.
Aw.
And and I just basically directed him and gave him the okay again. Like, this, you need to do this.
Right.
You're not going to be alive if you don't do this.
Right.
He followed my direction. He took her into a hospital setting on a Saturday. She was admitted to a facility. She didn't want to go, of course, but it was killing him. And I told her directly, too. And again, this goes to this direct conversation.
Clear. Right.
And from a loving heart, from a loving place, telling somebody, like, if you don't allow him to take better care of himself, he's not going to be here for you. Yeah.
And then you're not good to anybody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And guess what? Now this guy is smiling every time, pretty much every time I see him. The burden has been lifted.
Right.
He still has that burden of guilt.
Of course.
But more often than not, what happens is when somebody goes into a facility, he sees them as doing better, that they're getting better care. And they appreciate that they are doing okay there.
Yeah.
Happens time and time again.
To our listeners, as a reminder, Nugen Law will be presenting a free seminar on August 15th between 1 and 5 p.m. in Fort Wayne, diving deeper into how you can be sure to preserve your dignity and protect your money with topics like asset preservation, care management as you age, estate planning, and elder law. Please give us a call at 925-3738. That's 260-925-3738 to reserve your spot. We do at Nugen Law represent clients in Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and Florida, and look forward to hearing from you if you'd like to reach out to us and speak with one of our attorneys or one of the other members of our staff. Our time is running short. We need to wrap up our conversation with BG, the Nugen Law Elder Care Coordinator. Thank you for listening to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. I look forward to speaking with you next weekend.
You've been listening to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. For more information, log on to NugenLaw.com or email help@NugenLaw.com. Nothing stated in today's program should be considered as legal advice, should not be considered as having created an attorney-client relationship between show host and guests and any listener. Nugen Law is not liable for anything that happens as a result of a listener relying on provided information as legal advice. The content is for informational purposes only.